Welcome back to Emotional Mojo. When Vashon, Sarkisian's beloved husband, died after a 3-year battle with cancer, leaving her with an 8-year-old son to raise, she was absolutely devastated. With time, she discovered a path to her healing, and ultimately, she found a path to finding her joy. Vashon discovered 7 simple tips that helped her find her joy again, and she joins us today. Welcome, Vashon.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Great to be here.
I'm so glad you joined us, and you wrote a book that we're going to talk about called Finding Joy After Loss. And I want to just list the 7 tips, and then we're going to go through the 7 steps, excuse me, and then we're going to go through them. So these 7 steps are spiritual connection, gratitude, forgiveness, love, exercise, health, and creative expression. So as we have talked a little bit about, I lost my husband 9 months ago to a similar situation. He battled cancer, and I only had about 10 months of a battle with him, and I have 2 little boys, 3 and 6 years old. Right. So very similar situation. Exactly. So I looked at your list here, and I'm like, okay, I have the exercise part down, I've got the health pretty much down, a few things. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about was the gratitude. And I want to ask about how you, because I love what you wrote about the gratitude here. So tell me about how gratitude got onto your list.
Well, gratitude actually was probably one of the hardest steps that I tried to follow, but I knew it was probably one of the most important steps for me to engage in. And when I was grieving the loss of my husband, you know, you don't feel grateful about anything. You're really bitter, you're upset, you're wondering why life threw you this, you know, this ball, and you're wondering how you're going to continue. But you know that in order for you to feel good about life again, you've got to feel grateful for what you have. And at the time, the only thing I could feel grateful for was my son. And so what I did is every day, first thing in the morning, the first thing I did before I went to sleep, I wrote down, I'm so grateful for my son, I'm so grateful for my son, and that's all I did for 2 solid weeks.
Wow.
And what happened is when you focus on something like gratitude, it starts opening your perspective to allowing more things to come into your life. And so my perspective broadened, and I could start seeing that there were other things in my life that I was grateful for, that I had a job, that I had a loving family. That
well, and that's what brings joy, you know.
Exactly.
And I think that's so important, and that's what I'm trying to do too, is find that joy, because in the grieving process it's so difficult. The next thing I wanted to ask you about was forgiveness, and I think this is the most difficult part for myself. And I think the hardest thing for me in this entire journey was when I actually prayed for Stephen to die. Because I wanted not only for his suffering to end, but I wanted my suffering to end, because, and I feel very selfish about that, because it was so difficult, especially at the end. Those last 6 weeks were just pure hell.
Of course.
And I want to know how you were able to find that forgiveness, because you wrote about forgiving, not just, you know, you had to forgive yourself for some of those same feelings that you had.
Well, like your husband, my husband was in a lot of pain also, and I, you know, you don't want your loved one to die, but when you see them suffering and when they're in a lot of pain, you know that there's a better place for them to be in. And so, you know, his loss was horrible, but also, you know, after he died, I had to forgive that he died, because he had promised.
Who did you have to forgive them?
Who is it?
Well, I had to do 2 things. I had to forgive myself.
For what?
Well, part of me was, I thought I should be the one that should die.
So you were suffering from survivor's guilt?
Yeah, I did. Because he was the healer. He was in the natural health profession, and he was a great man, and he had a lot of clients, and he was doing a wonderful.
You feel like he shouldn't have been the one.
So I should have been the one. I was just this ordinary person.
But what he really wanted for you was what?
Well, he wanted me to live. He wanted me to be happy. He wanted me to carry on. He wanted me to experience joy in life. I mean, right before he passed away, he said, I want you to live a full life.
And that brings me to love. Not to cut you off, but I want you to touch on love, because I think that's what brings the joy.
Exactly.
And that's where I'm getting to now.
Loving again?
Is loving. I mean, I have my 2 precious boys who you can't not love when you look at your son Keen and you look at my boys, and you have that love. And And so tell me about how love played into this for you too.
Well, love is a huge topic, and it has many dimensions. And I had to fall back in love with myself again because I had lost a big part of myself
Your
when I
identity.
lost my identity, who I was, who we were as a family, who I was a wife, a mother. I became a mother, I became a father, I became, I had to create this new person all over again. So I had to fall back in love with Vashon. And then I also had to reach a community that was loving me and wanted to love me and wanted to support me, my family, my friends, and even
Allowing yourself to be loved.
exactly.
And I guess you have to come to a point where you tell yourself it's okay to be happy. Yes, this bad thing happened, but you have to overcome that feeling guilty, like I shouldn't be happy right now. Why am I allowed to have a good time? Did you find yourself having that?
which is the bonus step that I didn't mention.
the bonus.
There's always a bonus. The bonus step in the book is fun.
Exactly.
And again, with two small children, I can't not have fun in my life because
Exactly.
those boys
You have to do
bring
that for them.
fun,
Bring it.
and we
Exactly.
laugh every day
Right.
in my house and we laugh about Daddy, and we see butterflies in our backyard, and we laugh and we have joy.
Exactly.
And I don't know what I would do without my boys because it brings such joy. And I thank you so much. Thank you so much for writing this book.
Of course.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
And I want to talk to you more.
Okay, great.
But we ran out of time.
All right,
No,
thank
really, and
you.
it's a great read too, because Tara, you only had it for maybe a week, and it's already touched you this much. So I can only imagine people at home, if you pick it up, what kind of help it can offer for you too. So thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
That's great
All right,
to
well,
hear.
let's